Okay, I've recorded it. Cool. We're going to see the installation 10300. Let me connect to the server, this one, using putty. This is how you would connect to the cloud server. Instead of this IP, you would be using the IP that I have given in email. So 192.168.126, and you would be using something like 449.204.89.88. The port number will be changed. All right, 59.233. This is what you would get. Code IT and code IT password. Now I logged into the cloud server itself. So this is just an introduction or basic rules that you would follow once you are in the server. There are only certain number of ports that you can use. The other ports are actually blocked, and this is the location where you would be working. So if you go to this location, city in here, list it. So these are lots of students here. Okay, I think Chena has already logged in. So these are other students. So you can create your own directory. Let's say I'll create it for you, Deepak. So here you are. So you can practice everything here. Now make sure you do everything in your own directory, and all the files are available here. In the home directory, you got the WebLogic install files. You have everything here. So as we proceed, move forward, if there is any new file, I'll just keep it here so that you can use it anytime you want. Alright, so that's your basic setup and login. I'll just change the appearance a little bit. Alright, is this okay, or black was good? Guys? So here, students, let's say here I create a directory online. Alright, so everything I do inside the online, all our installations, everything will go in here into this directory. Alright, now the installation should be 10300, and the installer is available in the location that I given to you, this one. Put home directory, ls, in here, WebLogic 10G install files, do a listing. This is where you had everything. This is the installer. Now here, if you see this installer, if you go back to the ways of installing WebLogic installation is pretty simple. There are no prerequisites as such. That's probably one thing good about it. You can almost install it on a 512 MB RAM with a P4 processor. You will still be able to install and pretty much run the servers. But the recommendation is to have minimum at least 1 GB RAM and at least a P4 processor, or a better one would be a dual core processor. Now at a server level, the idea is to installation would be fine, but when you start running the servers, because each of the servers is a Java process, a JVM, so depending on the JVM size we choose, the total RAM and the hard disk space would change. So normally on a typical production system, you will see anywhere between 4 to 6 JVMs running. All the 4 to 6 JVMs will be using the same installation. So what we are doing here now, or what we are trying to see here, is how to put this bin file that we have downloaded from Oracle onto our system in a systematic way, and then see what would be the directory structure after the installation. Now to install this one onto your system, you will be using any of the three methods that we have. WebLogic allows you to install it in three different ways. One is a graphical user interface, which is a regular Windows-like installation. It will give you a nice a window thing. You can click on next and then go ahead with it. Then the next one, because this is a more popular one, the reason is like the one we have putty, which does not really allow a X Windows system unless you have Xming or something. So if we don't have X Windows system, then you can go with the second mode, console mode, and most of the times this is what we would be using. And the third method would be to use a silent based installation, especially when you have a large number of installations. You don't want to manually input your details every time, so you go with a silent installation. All the three installations use the same installer. The process of installation is same. The directory structure that gets created is same. The only thing is the type of screen that we would see will be little different. That's it. Alright, we will try to do the installation in all the three ways. Just get a hang of it. It will be quick. I don't see any large time things that would take. It's simple. WebLogic installation is very simple. It's not like a DPA database installation where you have a lot of prerequisites, like you need to check all the libraries, you need to change the kernel parameters. There is no such thing here. It's very simple. It works even on your regular desktop. So that's the beauty of WebLogic. So we will see all the three ways of installing it. Now the GUI mode, for the GUI mode I'm going to probably make it a little complicated, because I'm going to export the X Windows system or display of my system, or this server that you are looking at, onto my desktop. Yes, if this is what the setup we have. So let me just do MS Paint thing. So if you take it here, so you got a server here, alright, and then there is a desktop that I have here. Now what we are trying to do is we are trying to install everything here now, but we are connected from my desktop to this one, alright. So I'm connected from left to right here. So if you see this one, so this is how we are connected. This is bad. Okay, so I'm going to export the display of our cloud server onto my desktop, and for that I'm going to use Xming. So you're familiar with Xming? Xming is a X Windows system. Or else let me do one thing. The easier way would be to VirtualBox. You have VirtualBox that can be exported, and that's fine. So here we go. I'm taking a new session. I'm exporting the Xming. Xming is an open source X Windows system. This is more like it gives you the X display. So I'm going to start the Xming. This is installed on my desktop. So this is only for a demonstration. You really don't have to do this, or we are not going to use it in real time also, because we have the second method, console method, that we will be using. But the Xming thing I'm telling you, because it's not just WebLogic. You may have other installations that will require a display export. In that case, you will use the same process. So I'm opening a new session. When you're opening a putty session, what you need to do is you need to export the display X11. So this one here, SSH, and X11. You're going to enable that X11 forwarding. Then go back to the session. 192, 168, 128, 6, 59 to 33. Alright, same server, encode IT, encode IT. Change the settings a little bit. I'm not using all the pre-configured settings so that you know what I'm doing. It should not be like when you do it, it'll be different. So I have all the pre-configured settings saved, but I'm not using them. So here we go. Now we have this session, putty session, connected to our cloud server, and in here the X11 protocol is forward. X11 is the one that actually displays, forwards the protocol that is used to forward the display. So now I'm going to the location where we have the installer and launch that installer. Launching is pretty straightforward. You just execute that file. If your Xming and your display was set properly, you should get a pop-up window. And by the way, I have sent you a document already of the installation. Yeah, we got the pop-up. So you will have the screenshots of all the things that are about to come up. So just make sure you have that document open. Whatever inputs that we are giving on the screen, you will have pretty much all the screenshots. Now in the screenshots, you will see DurgaSoft. DurgaSoft was where I was training earlier for the past almost 2 years. So now I've changed the process a little bit, and now it's encode IT. So the documents, everything still sometimes remain the same. Alright, so let's go ahead with the installation. This is your welcome screen. This is 10G, 11G will have similar welcome screens. In 12C of WebLogic, the Oracle installation of has actually changed. Oracle uses what is called a unified universal installer. So that's pretty much the same installer for any components or any products of Oracle, which is really good. So you may see a little difference as you move forward, but for 10G and 11G, you will see the same thing. So this is the welcome screen you're looking at. Move on to next. Now here, choose the BEA home directory. If you see, it's still called BEA home directory. It will be changed to middleware home in 11G and 12C onwards. This 10G was the time where changes were happening from BEA company to Oracle company. If you see this one, use an existing BEA home. These are the various existing BEA homes that are already installed on your system. We can use one of them, or you can choose to create a new one. Let's say we create a new BEA home in our case. Oracle middleware art. For sake of simplicity, I'm going to go students online. Then this is where we have created our directory. Let's say we say BEA 10G. This is the directory where we want to install our BEA, and this is where we have decided to work everything for this session. So BEA 10G1, this is your BEA home, and anything related to the BEA product ideally should come under this BEA home. Alright, so just give that location, move on to next. Now complete our custom installation. If you see in the complete installation, you got two products, WebLogic Server and Workshop. They both come bundled in the bin file that we have executed, this one. Alright. Now the WebLogic is what our WebLogic application server is. Workshop is the IDE. It's more like the Eclipse that the developers use to develop the Java program. Now BA has actually bundled both these things together so that the Workshop gets used more and more, but not many people use the Workshop. The IDE is not very much popular. All the Java developers, I think they are more comfortable with Eclipse. So nowadays JDeveloper is also another thing that gets used very frequently. So Workshop comes bundled with this. You don't really install Workshop, or you don't use it even if you install it. But there is no harm in installing. You can go ahead with a complete install and install it, or you can go into custom installation. What happened? Are you guys there? Network connection lost. Guys, can you hear me, guys?
Now I think I'm able to, but for some time I was not able to. When you had the screen and you were talking about the workshop, so
Okay.
halfway through when you said that there are Eclipse and the Java developer, that's when I lost you.
Okay. Actually, we have a problem in the internet that we have. Yesterday there was the Ganesha idols were moving, so they've ruptured some of the cables here. I think the internet connection is also a problem today. Anyway, so let's restart it. I'm going to open up a new session again. I think the connection was lost between my desktop and the cloud server again. So I'm going to restart a new session. Alright, go into the session. 192.168.196, 59.233. Code IT. Change the settings a little bit. This is gone. So okay, we're back to square one again. So let's get in here. Just let's go to the directory where we tried of creating our server. So cd online. Actually, okay, nothing is there here. So nothing was really done. So let's go back to home directory. This is where we have start the installer. So 103 linux32.bin. Alright, so move on to next. Create a new BA home. So home encode IT students online BA10G. Move on to next. That's a BA home. So WebLogic server and workshop, you can install both of them blindly. That's what you would be doing ideally later. But now, for the sake of understanding, get into custom. To next, if you see this one, you'll see all these are WebLogic related. This is everything is WebLogic server, and the one below is workshop. So you can choose not to install it by deselecting it, or you can install it and see what the directory structure that gets created. So in WebLogic server, you have all these applications again. All right, you have the actual application server itself. Then there are tools like console, configuration wizard. We'll be using some of these tools. Then publish subscribe server is not really used. Web 2.0 HTTP publish subscribe server it's called. It's not being used. JDBC drivers are inbuilt JDBC drivers that will come along with WebLogic installation. Then there are third-party drivers are also included with WebLogic installation. We will talk about all these drivers and everything during our JDBC settings. Then a couple of other things, and then server examples is another thing. Means WebLogic when we are installing it, creates certain examples so that we can use those examples to understand the properties of WebLogic. We will be using the actual application from one of these examples. That's a really good example to demonstrate what is WebLogic capable of. So you can now choose to install. So usually what we do is we don't really think too much when we are installing. You pretty much select everything, install it. There is no harm. So that's what we usually do. Alright, so that's you're going to select everything, WebLogic server and workshop. Move on to next. And along with the workshop and web server, WebLogic server, you also get two JDKs bundled in the bin file. Now here we are only extracting the JDKs to the directory. We're not at a later point of time we'll be using one of these two JDKs. Only one we will be using. Now a Sun JDK is a popular one. Most of the developers use the Sun JDK. WebLogic recommends JRocket. So you may find a Sun JDK in many of the environments. JRocket is also getting popular. And what Oracle says is JRocket gives a better performance, but it all depends on what your development team wants, whether they want it on a Sun JDK or JRocket. So usually we are installing both of them here now, and later we'll be using the Sun JDK when we actually start bringing up the servers or start creating the servers. So for now we can use one of these two. If you don't want any of these versions, you can actually install manually JDK and select that JDK from here. Anyway, it's okay. So WebLogic basically takes everything. So then move on to next. I'm installing both of them here just to give you an idea of the directory structure and all that stuff. Now this is the installation of Eclipse location. Here this screen you will see only if you had selected workshop in our previous screens, otherwise you would not see the screen. Now because we have nothing to do with workshop, just go ahead and install the Eclipse also. It goes in there. This is an important screen. If you see this one, this is a product installation directory, or choose product installation directories. That's what it says. Now if you see, BA home is what we have given here, this one. And in BA bundle we have two products. One is WebLogic server itself, other one is workshop. So here if you see, this is workshop, this is WebLogic server. Now both of them, they automatically select the BA home that we have given, the one that is highlighted. It will add an additional directory, WL server underscore 10.3 if it is for WebLogic server, and workshop underscore 10.3. Now we can choose to change these directories, but usually we don't. We really give only the BA home part, that WebLogic home this is called, and this is called workshop home. These two things we don't usually change. So you go ahead with the basic, the default selection. So all we have given so far is actually BA home. And move on to next. This is a summary, installation summary. We have almost reached the end of the installation. If you see this one, WebLogic server is what we have selected, workshop is what we have selected, and JDKs are what we have selected. So on the right side you will have the total space. It takes about 1 GB. That's it. The installation started. Now while the installation is going on, just go through the screen that you're looking at. Means that's how Oracle tries to sell WebLogic. If that's what they say. If they say, let's say a workshop, if they want to sell it, these are the features they're going to say to the customer. Now those are the actual technical words that you will see in any blogs or any documents, any presentations, or any videos on YouTube. That's how they sell it. Industry's fastest JVM, point-based database, Acumen Advanced Technologies. It's not really necessary, but it's interesting, just to know the point of view from Oracle. Alright, that's your installation done. Now you can select this run quick start. It will open a small window after this. That window will give you some shortcuts. I'll just have a look at it. So once you're done, it will launch a small pop-up, this one. The quick start window will give you can launch the workshop here, launch Oracle workshop, or you can start the WebLogic server from here itself. You can upgrade the domain, access online doc. None of these we are going to use because you won't be having this window on a Unix system. You will have to do everything on the command prompt. If it's a Windows system, this is much more useful. And all these things can be done in other ways, so we don't really use quick start. That's it. So your installation is done. Now what we're going to do is, I'm going to get into that directory where we have installed and see the directory structure. This is the directory structure we're going to get. If you observe, the BA home is what we have given. Home and code IT students online /BA10G. That's our BA home. Under BA home, we have installed 3 products. One is WebLogic Home, because this is what was added, WL server. Then we have selected workshop, that would be workshop home, and we have selected 2 JDKs. Each of them will have its own directory. So these are the actual components that we have installed: WebLogic Home, workshop home, Java home. And these are actual variables that are created during the installation. Means from now on, if I say WL home, it's basically, you get an idea that it was under BA home. The directory name is WL server _10.3. That's the actual directory name. The parameter name is WL home. Now if you observe, I always say WL home. It's not WL _home, but the actual parameter is WL _home. But for some reason, nobody really says WL _home. Everybody says WL home. I think that's more like, in the discussion, that's how everybody does it. So you say BA home, WL home, Java home. You actually mean BA _home, WL _home, Java _home. Alright. So inside this directory, if you go in, you will see 2 main other directories, server and common. And both of them, here it's not capital letters, it's small letters. All of them are small letters. And inside server and common, you will find bin directories. That's where the actual files of WebLogic are there. So let me just go to that location. So let's go to the location where we have installed our WebLogic home and code IT. This is the home directory. You can actually do a CD, simple CD. You will be in home directory wherever you are. So then go into students, this one. Alright, and here go into online. This is where we have installed BA10G. So this is our BA home, the one that's highlighted. If you do a listing of this, these are the directories that got created. In here, WL server is the WebLogic server that you are looking at, this one. This is WL home. This is workshop home, workshop _10.3, this one. And these 2, JDK is Sun JDK, this is JRocket. One of these 2 will be using later, only one. I can't use both. So inside this is what we are interested in. The rest of things are more like other, relevant directories, but this is the most important. So this is your WL home. Alright, so in WL home, you got 2 important directories, server and common. Alright, so server and common. If you go into common, do a listing, you will see some of these directories will be coming back and working, especially bin directory will be working, node manager will be working, WLST will be working. templates is also something that will come back. Now the important one out of all these directories is bin one. So cd to bin, list it. These are the files, core scripts of WebLogic. A lot of these scripts we'll be using as we proceed into other sections. Alright, and some of these scripts are referred by other scripts. Some of these scripts are referred by other scripts, when we actually create the WebLogic servers. Alright, so that's your installation and the directory structure after the installation. And we have used the simplest way of doing the installation, GUI mode. That's usually used in a Windows based system, but because we are on Unix, we don't have this GUI part. And the Xming thing, it can be really used anywhere. That's a really cool X Windows system we use on a lot of things, especially when you have firewalls and other stuff in between. That works. Xming works and saves you a lot of times. Now the next way of installing okay, I'm back again. I just stopped. I didn't really say anything. I didn't say anything here during that lost connection. What is happening is, I think the net connection is going on and off. Yesterday I received a message that there's going to be a maintenance activity. Anyway, so I didn't say anything during that. You didn't lose anything. I didn't say anything during that time. That's fine. So I think we'll have to bear with this network problem today. At least for today, I never had this problem before. All right. So that's a GUI based installation. Now the second thing is a console based installation. Now console based installation is pretty much same as GUI based installation, no difference at all, except that it's everything in text. Means you don't have that graphical interface where you can click on that next button and previous button. Instead, you need to work on a simple text like menu kind of thing. All right, on the text like menu kind of thing, you go with next and previous. So I'll just show you. That will be more than enough. So here, this is a command, the same installer. We're going to add an additional option here, -mode equal to console, with an optional parameter -log. Now if you can mention -log, or you don't really have to. If you mention, then all the installation related log file will be generated in this location. So I'm going to install it in console mode. So we're doing the second installation now. So I'm going here again to the location where I have the installer. List it. So 103. I'm going to add a couple of parameters here. -mode equal to console -log. This is an optional parameter equal to. Let's say you give your log file a home and code IT student online install.log. Okay, it's overlapping here. If you see this one, it goes too long, it comes back to this location. So the only option that additionally we would be giving is -mode equal to console. This is the additional option we are giving. -log you can or you may not have to. Alright, so here, if you go back, this is your welcome screen. Earlier you got a nice GUI. Now the same content, it basically tells you the same thing, same welcome screen, but in text mode. And you will be typing if you want to move the data or change the data entered previously, type previous or type next or type exit. So you basically, instead of clicking next, you will be typing next. So move on to next. This is more like a ATM menu. You go into an ATM and you type in whatever option you want, then you enter the inputs required for that option. This is pretty much same. The arrow mark indicates the default selection, which is the first one here. Create a new BA home. Or if you want to, let's say, modify one of the existing homes, which are these things, you can select one of these existing homes and start modifying it. Or else you can go ahead and create a fresh one that like the one that we did. So option 1, it's always simple. Choose your option, enter your values. If you don't have any of those, move on next. That's it. It's a very simple one. Just read through this instruction here. Enter the index number to select or type one of these three. So we're entering an index number. Alright. Then enter the BA home. So let's say we want to install it in a different location now. Students online BA 10G hyphen console. Last time we have installed it under BA 10G. Now we're installing under BA 10G hyphen console. So once you given this option, it should get selected here. You see this one, BA home. This is what goes getting selected. You can change it by choosing one of these options or move on to next. So we're okay with that directory, so move on to next. This is complete versus custom. Alright, we already did a custom. You can actually go ahead with complete, or let's say if you want to go into custom, choose option 2. Now this is release. This is WebLogic part. This is workshop part. And each of these components have a number. If you observe, all WebLogic has 1, all workshop has starting with 2. Now let's say if you don't want workshop, all that you have to do is type in number 2. The cross mark will be gone. The cross mark is basically a selection. If you have cross, it means it's selected. Now let's say we don't want workshop, so here we're going to enter 2. That will take off the workshop. Alright, so the workshop is gone. I just put you guys on mute from my side, so I think you can unmute yourself and talk if you want. I think there is a noise somewhere. Alright, so here I have unselected option 2. Going on to next. So we'll be installing only WebLogic this time, no workshop. This is again JDK selection. Alright, this by default it has both of them. Let's say we don't want GRocket this time. We don't want this thing. Now you can unselect this cross mark. So means give option 3, the cross mark will be gone. So this cross mark is gone. Only you have for JDK. The selection is done. Move on to next. This is a product directory, means this is a WebLogic WL home. Because we are not installing workshop home, you were given only one option, and that option is under BA home, this directory, and we never really changed it. So we're going to go ahead with the default selection. Move on to next. This is a summary. Alright, in the summary you got all the WebLogic server and one JDK that we wanted to install. Next. That's your installation going on. It is same, the process remains same, the directory structure that gets created is also going to be same. So it's only the way we do it is different, and this is a more frequent way of doing installation in all Linux systems, because we are used to working on PuTTY and any command line tool. So all WebLogic administrators usually prefer doing it on command prompt itself. It's much faster. You can actually install this entire WebLogic in less than 1 minute. The only parameter that you send is BA home. The rest of the parameters you go with the default options. You simply type next, 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 or you can keep pressing enter, 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 enter. The installation will be done. I'll show it to you. So it's creating some of the sample domains during the installation. So we'll be using one of these domains. We will also be creating our custom domain. The sample domains is what is getting created now. We will see what a domain is during the architecture. Okay, while this is happening, you can actually look at the log file that we have given. So let me open another session, putty session, duplicate that, code IT, code IT, students online. This is the install log that we have given. Just do a tail -f on it. This is your installation. The tail -f command actually does a continuous tailing. Means while the log is getting updated, it picks up that log. So this is what is happening with your installer. It's updating the domain. That's it. Your installation is complete. You can check it here on the screenshot. So your installation is complete. That's it. Exit. Done. Now if you go to the directory where we installed it, so cd home and code students online. This is the second installation we did using the second method, BA10G console. 10G-console. Alright. So the structure remains same. This is your WL home. You don't have any workshop underscore home because we did not select workshop. And JDKs also we selected only one JDK. We did not select the JRocket. We unselected it. Again, if you go into this WL home again, this directory is your WL home, which means up to this part it's BA home. To BA home, if you simply add another directory, the entire path becomes your WL home. Alright, in here you have the two important directories, common. So let's go into common, and bin directory is the other one. So under common bin, we have the same set of files, nothing different. the contents and the process does not change. It's only what we see at how you initiate the installer changes. So if you go into server and bin directory here, we're going to come back during node manager. You will have a couple of scripts that are really required. Start node manager dataset, and this is another script that will set the environment of WebLogic. This script is being called by all our startup scripts of WebLogic. So we'll see what are the startup scripts later, but those startup scripts will refer to this file internally. So this is a very important file. It sets WebLogic server environment. See this one, set WLS environment.sh. Alright, so that's your console mode of installation, and this is more popular way of installing. And if you have large number of installations, then you will go for a third type of installation. It's called silent mode of installation. A silent mode, as the name says, it's a pretty simple one. Whatever inputs we are giving manually, we put all those inputs into an XML file and we pass that XML file to the installer. See this one here. This command, if you observe, the same bin file that we've been using, -mode, earlier it was console, now it is silent. Now because we are saying it's silent, you will pass a file called silent XML file. Silent_XML file it is. This file has to be created. The s.xml that is on this screen, you can name it anything you want, but this file has to be created. And this option you already know. This is an optional option. So here in this case, what we are doing is the parameters that we have to give, like BA home or WL home during the installation, we are putting into a file called s.xml and we are passing that file. Now the s.xml file is, it's a pretty simple one. It's available over the internet. So I'm going to show you, a sample file. We'll modify it according to our environment. So sample. I want to use Opera. The Chrome is overloading the system. Let's go to Google. Alright, so if you go to Google and then search for silent_XML file sample. It's available on the Oracle website. See this one here, sample silent file. If you go in here, you don't have to really recreate it. I'm just showing it to you so that you can do it if you need. You will take the file from our cloud server, or the clone that you will have already has that s.xml. So if you observe, this is a sample file. It's an XML file, and all the variables that are giving as inputs can be customized. You can set BA home in there, WLS installation directory. You can set up the component paths like WL home or workshop home. Then if you are installing node manager, which we will talk later, what is node manager and you can actually set that up at the beginning itself. Then JVMs, if you want to install both the bundle JVMs, local JVMs, if you want to install local JVM. Now out of all these things, so this is the actual file we are looking at. This is the beginning of the file and end of the file. I'm going to take a copy of this. Alright, so open up the notepad, paste it here. Then we will eventually paste it onto Unix system. Now if you observe here, the only mandatory parameter in all our installation is BA home. The rest of the parameters can be actually optional parameters. Means if you don't give any of those things, let's say I'll show you a quick installation, a 1-minute installation kind of thing. You will realize the only required input for WebLogic is BA_home. The rest of the inputs, what happened? This is getting stuck. Can you hear me now? Or is it still lost? It's gone. Guys, you're there? Can you hear me, guys?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And Deepak, what about you?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So we had that brief disruption again. I'm able to see on my router what is happening. Okay, so we were talking about that s.xml file. So here, if you observe, uh, all of these parameters are not mandatory except the BEA home. So if you see this one, let me open a new session, and this is a saved session. So if I do this, code ID and code ID1, city, home, code ID, students, online. This is where we have installed these two installations. Let's go back and install a third way. Quickly I'm going to do it. Means all default options I'll take. If it is not required, I'm not going to give that input. That's how we're going to do this installation. This is to understand what are the mandatory inputs, what are the optional inputs. So here if I do -mode equal to console, let's say I'm doing console mode installation. Alright, type next or just enter. Type next. Sorry, options. So here we give home and code students online be a quick installation, let's say. Next. So far I've entered only be a home. I'm selecting everything next. Here we're going to go with the complete installation. Alright, nothing we're going to change here because we never really changed anything under WL home or workshop home. Want to next. Instead of typing next, you can actually press enter. I'm typing next so that you see what's happening. So this is a summary page. All of them will be installed. Logic server gets installed, workshop gets installed, JDK gets installed. So next, that's it. So only one input I've given, be a home. But rest of the inputs are next, 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 next. That's it. Means all the default values it takes. Now the installation will go on. So let's come back here. So if you observe here, you don't really need all these inputs. The reason why we don't want to put them is you want to keep your s.xml file very simple unless you want to customize something. So what we do is we usually remove all these things except the mandatory ones. So I'm going to remove everything else except the mandatory. So this is something, a file that I personally use. So here, when you're copying, this changes UTF. So here, this file has UFF on that internet, so you need to change it to UTF, otherwise it won't work. So here, your BA home, where you want to install home encode IT students online BA10G hyphen silent this time, let's say. Alright, your silent file is ready. Copy it, paste it onto one of the files on your system. This is still creating the domain, so let it go on. I'll duplicate the session. Code IT, code IT. Alright, city students, sorry, FibLogic, this thing. Alright, so clear. Now here we may try to create s.xml, but I think we cannot create anything here. I changed the permissions. This is owned by root. So let's say we put it under temp or on the online directory itself. Let's say I will put it under temp for now. vi/temp/s.xml. Insert vi. So you're familiar with vi, right? I hope both of you are familiar, otherwise we'll arrange a session for that. Unique session I'll arrange. Alright, so here, look at this one. I got only one parameter here, the BA home. Whatever parameter I need or wherever I want to install, set it, save it, close it, you're done. s.xml. Alright, so if you observe or if you open that s.xml file using a cat command, this is what you have in that file. Now this file is what we're going to pass to the installer. Let's start the installation, the silent mode, ls server, the file name -mode equal to silent -silent underscore xml equal to, this is underscore, remember, so it's not hyphen, so give the location of s.xml file /temp/s.xml. This time everything still remains the same, nothing really changes, but the only thing is you won't be asked about anything. The installer will pick up everything from the s.xml file. It will try to install it. See, it's going on. We didn't give any log file. You can optionally give a log file name and keep a look at the log file while the installation is going on. Or else if there is any issues, kind of the installation failed or not able to complete it, this command will fail. So the installation is pretty simple one, pretty straightforward. So not many errors that you will see during the installation. So this installation is going on. A sample silent installation. I think you can pick up that s.xml file from the cloud server if you want to use it offline, or if you are working on the cloud server itself, you already have it under the directory. So here, this is a structure that we have talked yesterday. A typical architecture you will see in most of the projects. There is a presentation layer where the user accesses it using a browser kind of thing or a desktop application. It will first land on a web server. A web server is basically for static content serving. It serves any HTML pages or images, and the web server, if there is a dynamic content request, it sends it to the backend application server. It could be WebLogic, WebSphere, JBoss, anything. Now the connection between web server and the app server has to be configured using something called a proxy plugin, which we will be doing later. So we'll be doing it for Apache server. We'll configure a proxy plugin so that it can connect to WebLogic. And WebLogic in turn allows you to connect to a database if an application requires a JDBC connection. Again, we will talk about JDBC in our JDBC session. Alright, so before we go into interview questions, let's just see the installation. That's it. Your installation is done here. Alright. Now if you go to the location where we try to install it, home and code IT, students, online. So this is the third installation. I'm using a long listing here, not a simple listing, ls-ltr. So going to BA 10G-silent. You will have the same structure. This is WL_home. This is workshop_home. This is JDK, one of these two. So if you go inside this WL_home, you will have common and server. Go into, let's say, common, and our directory bin. You will have the same set of files. Now change the setup. Alright, now going back to that interview questions, you got architecture of the project is something that is very frequently asked question. Means tell me how users land on various components or various layers of your infrastructure. I think this question was asked yesterday in RBS interview. Yesterday we were doing an interview, one of our students. They've asked, tell me various layers of how an end user will access your application server. So usually the layers are, there is a presentation layer, assuming a client or user uses a browser. They will cross through a firewall first. After the firewall, they usually land on a load balancer. After the load balancer, it will redirect it to a web server. Alright, the web server will try to serve the static content, and if there is a dynamic content, it will send it to the backend app server. An app server allows you to connect to a database, or it allows you to connect to a GMS product like MQ, TIBCO, or WebLogic GMS itself. Alright, so these are typical 4 or 5 components in all the products. You won't really this structure does not change in any of the projects that you may be working with WebLogic. It is a typical 3-tier architecture: firewall, load balancer, web server, app server, database. That's the architecture of your project. That's what they mean. They are not really, when for a WebLogic admin perspective, it's not about how your application is internally working. So we are not in a client is not asking, at least as an admin, we are not interested in how the application works internally. We are more interested in how the end user accesses your application, the flow. That's what helps us in troubleshooting the problems. And then we will have a regular question about the difference between a web server, app server. A web server is basically for static content serving. App server is for dynamic content serving. That's a general definition. And if you go into strict sense, even web servers nowadays do serve the basic dynamic content like JSPs and servlets. So a very loose definition. Earlier one is web server is for static, app server is for dynamic content. The version of Apache we'll be using is 2.2. That's the latest version of Apache server. iPlanet is 6. iPlanet is also called Sun1 web server, and the WebLogic will be using 10G and 11G. In 10G it's 10300, 11G it will be 1036. Alright, now the license.be, normally WebLogic does not require any license except that when you go for a cluster. When you have a cluster, you need a file or a license file from Oracle. So the license file usually looks like this, license.ba file. That's what it used to be there. It's usually under your BA home. Wherever you install your WebLogic, under that you will have a file called license.ba. This license file you will get it from Oracle actually. Now the question is, when you need licenses in one scenario actually, when you have a cluster. Otherwise, when you have a support contract with Oracle, a support contract basically gives you a license file that also you can put it. And nowadays, because not everybody uses clusters, so a lot of people buy a contract from Oracle for support related activities. Means if there is a problem with WebLogic, or there is a bug, or there is a security update, it will be really critical for the company. Not everybody uses the clustering capabilities of WebLogic, but if you want to use it, you will require an additional license. You'll have to pay additional license fee. Alright, so that's your installation pretty much. The three ways that we talked about, and the directory structure that gets created. So GUI mode, console, and silent. I'm just summarizing everything. Alright, these are the inputs that we are giving. The only mandatory parameter is BA home. The rest of the parameters you can actually go ahead with the default installation or default selections. This is the installer. This is available on our cloud server, and it will be also available on the clone that I'm going to give you. Alright, so any questions so far on the installation? Okay, cool. I'm not expecting any questions. This is pretty simple one. We're going to get into much more complicated ones later on in some of our concepts. So here I'm going to put that s.xml file into that online folder, students online. Here the tilde mark basically says the home directory of the user, which is /home/encode. So here we go. So you have s.xml file. Do a cat on it. So if you are practicing, make sure you copy this file into your directory. I hope both of you have already directories on here. So you have Chenu 1 and Deepak. So just get into those directories. Alright, and you can do everything here. That's if you are accessing it through cloud. If you are planning on installing on your own, the first thing I want you to do is download the clone from our source. A clone is available. I'll do one thing. I'll send you detailed instructions. What is the download location, how to download the Oracle VM VirtualBox, and how to install the Oracle VM VirtualBox, and then how to configure the one that you downloaded, the clone, the 20 GB file, to the Oracle VM VirtualBox software. Alright, so that I'm going to send you a detailed instruction with a screenshots kind of document. Till such time, just get yourself comfortable with that installation. Today is a pretty simple and slow session. I want you guys to get a really hang of it, especially with WebLogic and the Unix thing. I think Deepak, you're already on Unix, so you don't have any issues. So even Chenna, you're also working on it. So just for first couple of sessions we are really slow. We'll be picking up speed slowly. That way it'll be, it's not something like you're missing parts. All right, any questions? Any questions, guys? Cool. So I'll stop it here for today.
Anil.
Yeah.
Chennai.
Yes.
In console, I mean, I think in console mode, we can able to choose two JVM, right?
Anywhere
So
you
we
can
have
choose
enabled.
JVMs. That's
No,
installation
no,
you can
no.
choose. Yes.
No, that's okay. That's okay. In the GI mode, we have the checkboxes and everything. So
Right.
identical. But in console mode, if I want to choose one, only one, so how
You
to
have
do?
cross mark, right? If you select that number, the cross mark disappears.
Okay,
Let me show you.
both are having numbers, right?
Yeah, you have got numbers, and at the end of it, you got. Let me show you this. Hyphen mod equal to console.
By
Right.
default,
So
they all come with the check both in check mode.
yeah, you need to select enter the number of the one that you don't want. Let's say here I'm going. I'll just give me a moment. So I'm going here next. Students online test B. Let's say I'm going. Right, next. Next, this one. Okay, this is product, and this is JDK's next thing you would get. Now, where is it go? Previous. Option 1. Home and code. Students online test B. Next, option next here also. This is workshop and testing. How come it's getting selected, both of them?
Yeah, that's what.
It's not supposed to happen that. I did not give that. Anyways, we're supposed to get a JRocket and that option. So let's say if you say option 1, next. No, this is not correct. Something is going wrong. This is test B. I think we have already installed it. That's why. Let's select another one. B home. Test B 1. Next.
Yeah.
It's picking up both of them for some reason. Last time it didn't. In this case, you can go ahead and install both of them and remove the directory that you don't want. That would be a practical approach instead of worrying why we got both of them. I think it's picking up that both these directories somewhere. We are missing one of the screens. So
Yes.
first time when we did, we go. Okay, I'll tell you what they need to you are supposed to do actually. You will get local, SDK, JRocket, all the three. So number 1, number 2, number 3. 2 and 3 will have cross marks, which means they are selected. Now, if you don't want to install, let's say JRocket, which is option 3, you just enter 3, the cross mark will be gone. which means the JRocket is unselected. That's what it means. So that way you can select and unselect one of the JDKs. All right. Cool. Any other questions? Any other questions? Deepak, you got any questions? Okay, I think Deepak is out already. Okay, that's it for today. I'll upload this video and I'll see you tomorrow same time. We'll continue with our next session. All right. Right, Jenna. You can disconnect now, and I think that's all we have for today.